Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bristol Fundraising Group. Today, we are welcoming Ben Swart, Director of Training and Consultancy at Bright Spot Fundraising. Ben is an award-winning fundraiser, trainer, speaker, and coach working in the sector for more than 18 years and has helped a huge number of charities across the whole of the fundraising world, including NSPCC, Oxfam, RNLI, and MSF. Today, Ben has joined us to share some of his wisdom, and over the next hour, we'll share some techniques to grow major donor income and answer any questions you might have. So without any further delay, I am delighted to hand over to our guest speaker, Ben Swart.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Hello, everybody. Just to check, you can see me and you can see the slides, either there or there. Excellent. Hello, welcome. That's a lovely intro. Thanks very much. You didn't need to say all those lovely things, but I'm pleased you did. I do work with my very good friend Rob Woods at Bright Spot Fundraising. Sometimes people have heard of us because Rob works flipping hard recording a podcast episode almost every week where we hunt out people who get extraordinary results in the world of fundraising, quite often in the world of fundraising when the stakes are slightly higher. So when I think of that, I think of someone who's in philanthropy fundraising or trusts and foundations or corporate fundraising or community fundraising. What I want you to imagine is the person you are trying to help do more for you, turn up at your event, give, meet, introduce their friends, whatever it is, partner with you, that, that conversation is just worth disproportionately more than a £5 chat or someone putting some money in a bucket. Our job, hunt out the times when success has happened. And, occasionally it's just luck. It was a fluke. Maybe it was just because they came from that big branded organization, they were always going to win. Often, though, when you become a little bit obsessed with hunting out why does fundraising work, what's working, even when the odds are stacked against me, often you notice success leaves clues. There's a pattern, there's a repetition, there's something to it. Our job, hunt out what those patterns are and help as many people as possible to be able to understand them and share them and know them so that ideally after this session, this sort of 40, 50 minutes we've got together, you just notice some things you might do differently tomorrow or even at the end of today. Like you're already winning because it's 11 o'clock on a Monday morning and you could be diving into your to-do list, but you're choosing to give your brain that chance to just think of something else. So I'm really pleased. Thank you. For best results, stay with me on my journey. Be open-minded, curious to what I'm saying. I'm going to share examples of where people have tried out stuff and it's worked. You can be like I was early on in my career and get bitter and jealous at those people. Flipping out. Or calmly just be like, I'm intrigued. How might I try this tomorrow? If you do have questions, by all means, wave your hand at me or know that at the end, I'll do all I can to try and answer them. Please try and be playful. I am going to ask you questions that you can either unmute for or put into the chat. So just go for it when I do. And crucially, you were lied to. You were lied to, not by me, not by the Bristol Fundraising Network. You were lied to when you were growing up. You were told that knowledge is power. You could even hear yourself finishing that sentence. Knowledge is power. Like, knowledge is potential power. Action, applied knowledge is power. So if you hear something today, you don't have to take all the ideas from it. You don't have to do everything. If you hear something today and it makes you more likely to think of an idea, push play on a podcast, talk to this donor, not that donor, nudge your colleague. If there's something from today that you capture or you write down or you give a go to, and you tomorrow give it a go or later today, like you'll find your state can change, things can be different. That would help you get the best from today. I'm going to cover some things quite briefly. One of them is where you can apply your focus. Focus is power in lots of different ways. I'm going to explore that for a bit. The second thing is the sorts of habits that when we do hunt out people who've raised extraordinary sums of money, especially in the world of major giving, partnerships, etc., trusts, there's some habits that they just have every day that help them every week. And then finally, we'll look at just some time for questions. The first thing I'm going to look at is focus. And what I mean by this is, by the way, I am going to reference the podcast. I promise you, I'm not referencing the podcast because we have some sort of Patreon click per pay thing. Like, I promise we don't. I'm referencing the podcast because our mastery courses, for instance, are 6 months long, 4 days of training, 6 months of having a coach, a members club access. Like, There's just too much content, too many stories. 50 minutes is not enough time for me to go dive deep on everything. So the easiest thing for me to do is to give you a nod to an episode you can listen to when you're walking the dog, going for a run, trying a new regime, whatever it is. Like so, fundraising Bright Spots podcast. My screen's in the way. I can't see the number. 133. Craig Linton talks about this thing called the 80-20 principle, the power of focus. And what he really means, by the way, is from this book. You kind of know this. You know this to be true. All of my donors, they're all caring people. I'm pleased they all chose to give. They are not all worth exactly the same amount. And even if I look at my donor file, so I think some of you are from tiny organizations, you're the sole fundraiser, and you do lots of other things too. Some of you are from bigger ones and you do other stuff. Like my donor file, if I think of an event that I've invited people to, and there's 50 people attending the event, all 50 people, the impact they can have on my organization is not equal. Craig's first question in all of this is the fundraiser who is winning is the one who says, actually, out of all of the people, all of the actions, all of the ideas I can do, there's too much time. There's not enough time. There's too many actions for me to do. Out of everything I could do with someone, and we are going to talk about actions and ideas and things, I can't possibly do them with everyone. I have to make a choice. Who would be the ones that if I did get a coffee, a conversation, if I did hear a story about our work or a real example, or someone called us to say thank you, or I witnessed a speech at an event and it blew my mind, like if I did get a sense, gosh, my charity does great work. I'm so proud of my team. If I got that sense, and it was because of a particular reason, a sentence someone said, a sentence somebody else said, something I noticed, like who would I send that little jolt of inspiration to? I couldn't possibly send it to all 200 people. So who would be the 10 or 20 that I might write a thank you card to? Craig's first gambit and my first thing of all the ideas we're going to talk about today is I'm afraid to say things are not equal. Your supporters are not all equal. Your board members are not all equal. If you picture your board now, you've got 14 people on it, including that one that's really annoying. You've got all 14, sorry if you are a board member. Like you've got those people, two or three of them are just disproportionately more helpful, more likely to be well networked, more likely to have the ability to give, more likely to to be able to talk in a certain way about your work. Like they're not all equal. Some of them are just disproportionately, it's more helpful for you to work with them. Same with the people who volunteer for you. Like they're all wonderful, and there's two or three of them who are just disproportionately more connected in the local community. Same with your colleague. Anyway, you get the game. All these things I'm talking about, number one, the aim is to figure out who would I apply tactics to? Who would I focus on? And then the other third thing about 80-20 is, gosh, my to-do list is never ending. There's some stuff that just keeps moving. I only have a limited amount of time and energy, so where should I put my time or energy or focus? There are some things that give you disproportionate return. So the 80-20 rule says 20% of your time and energy, 20% of your supporters, 20% of your board members, 20% of your volunteers, even 20% of your colleagues help contribute towards 80% of your wins. Our job is to figure out who are they. Even now, I think it's like 10%, 80%, 5%, 80%. It's not everyone. Who are those people? And what can I do to deepen that relationship? And it's the same with my time. By the way, this principle, you see it everywhere. If I were to look at your wardrobe, I bet you got loads of clothes. 20% of them you wear 80% of the time. If I look at your kitchen, if I look at my kitchen, loads of gadgets and things, 20% of the stuff in that kitchen gets used 80% of the time. It's a weird quirk of human nature, of economics. It's called the Pareto principle. But anyway, number one, we've got to apply that focus. Number two, we've then got to say, if I am applying that focus, where should I focus my time? What is the habit of highly successful relationship builders? Mostly philanthropy managers or trusts or foundations or corporate ones or community groups. We've noticed studies that Rob and I have done for years. When you look at the biggest gifts that have come, the best relationships, there's a trait they have in common. And it is similar to this trait that is on the screen now. We talked to a head of marketing at one of the world's biggest car firms, the luxury car firm, and they told us about this particular habit that the world's best car salespeople have. So forgive me, I'm just going to try and get into the chat. I am interested. Maybe you've been on a Bright Spot thing before. Maybe you've listened to the podcast. Maybe you've heard Rob speak. Maybe you've heard me talk about this. So feel free, you can write in the chat. But if you were guessing, there is something that the people who sell the most cars, the most luxury cars, expensive cars, the top 1% outsell the others by quite some way. And when we met the global head of sales for BMW, she said there's something that they focus on far more than the number of cars they sell or amount of money they bring in. Jenny's writing an answer, offer the most test drive. Like, bingo, you've got the answer. Number one, the first rule of people who sell more cars is they've clocked. I shouldn't be counting the number of cars I sell or the amount of money I bring in. I should be focusing on and counting on and celebrating how many test drives can I get booked in this day, this week, this month. They seek test drives, not car sales. So I am interested. I have a question to you now. I'm just going to try and change the layout. Maybe it'll be easier if I do that there. Right. I'm intrigued. Could you just help me? You've got 30 seconds on your own to just reflect on this question. What is it about focusing on test drives that you think helps A, the customer be more likely to buy this expensive car? There's something about focusing on a test drive that helps the customer to do that. And then B, the salesperson with their morale, persistence, creativity, confidence. Have a quick think, 30 seconds on your own. You can write it in a pad or you can write it on here. Alex, you're going for it. Excellent, thank you. By all means, write it in here. What are some answers we've got? Anna, builds trust, confidence in the product. The customer feels trusted, value. You're selling a lifestyle, giving the customer a sense of what lifestyle makes it makes it hard to live without in theory. Like if you once you get in that car, Rob, you're right. Like you kind of begin to experience it. It's the lifestyle. Kirsten, yeah, it's the experience in the product. Like there is just more time spent building relationships. It builds a relationship. Thank you very much. I like this. You demonstrate mutual trust. I'm intrigued. If you were answering B, Anna, you're overachieving. Like, why is it that it helps the salesperson's morale, persistence, creativity? There's something about focusing on test drives that helps the salesperson not to be deflated, not to be exhausted, but they are happier, they are more persistent, they are more creative. What have we got here? For the salesperson, it's an easier and less intimidating and more fun. You're absolutely right. Than going for a big sell. Helps morale because people are more likely to accept. You understand the customer more. I love it. Experience, trust. You're totally right. Like, you're not taking money. It's really tangible. It does, like, I think it increases your own trust in your product. If I know about the car, I don't have to be pushy. I love it. Such good answers. Let's just quickly click ahead. Um, everything you've said is on here too. You offer a nice thing. It's less pushy. It's more creative. Um, Ultimately, it's just easier. You're totally right. The more I focus on test drives, the easier it is, to both help the customer, but crucially, in fact, if I did a study, and I've done this, I recently talked to a team, and the leader just looked utterly deflated, like totally and utterly exhausted. And all she was talking to me about was how hard it is to raise money. And all her team were talking about was how hard it is to raise money. And we're really struggling. And each month I look at how much money we're raising and oh God, it's deflating. And I've spent, 18, now 20 years actually. I need to update my bio. Nearly 20 years in fundraising. And the biggest wins I've had, the biggest gifts, the biggest partnerships, the gifts from trusts, did they come overnight? No. Did they take time? Yes. Like, if I'd only celebrated when the money came in, gosh, I'd be miserable. If you studied a car forecourt that celebrated test drives, if it got to Wednesday and they'd had 5 test drives, they're celebrating because they know 1 out of every 6 test drives, normally someone buys a car. If I look at another car forecourt, another showroom, where the only thing they celebrate is car sales, and they've got to Wednesday and they haven't sold a single car, they feel more under pressure. They're a bit tighter. they're not as caring. Like there's a whole host of reasons why focusing on test drives helps you. And I love your ideas with the customer as well. Um, I did this once, by the way, and somebody said to me, um, Ben, I took a BMW for a test drive the other day, and the salesperson said to me as we were turning the corner, he said, "When we turn this corner, put the car into third gear and floor it." So I did it, and woo, I felt like Batman. Uh, and and that everything you said earlier on, it's an experience. Like B for the salesperson, I don't think that's the first time he's tried that recipe. I think he's done that recipe lots of times. Now, I've only ever really test driven cars once when we were buying a car when my daughter was just born. So we turned up to test drives, Seat Leon place, with my daughter in a car seat, like a baby car seat. Um, do you think that salesperson would have done the same journey with us, put us into third and floor it? Like, out of everything that salesperson could talk to us about to do with the car when we turned up with our daughter, 6 weeks old, what do you think they would have talked to us about? Just from that, just from noticing that, out of every bits of the car they could highlight, what element of the car? Yeah, I love it. Safety. It's obvious, Ben. It's safety. But what fascinates me is the guy who went on the test drive and went into third. He was the same age as me, similar demographic. Like if I just turned up on my I like the the test drive because it helps me to just seek and understand this other person. Takes the pressure off so many things I could talk about. I am labouring the point, but here's the thing: the reason the global sales director said, "Oh, Ben, the habit you've just talked about is really similar to the one our car salespeople have, the best car salespeople, is because you've clocked this. Maybe if you've been on any sort of Bright Spot training or our podcast or our Breakfast Club or any of the content you're aware, the habit that we should be focusing on, even though it's hard, and I appreciate I had a finance director and a fundraising director who constantly asked me about the numbers. But for me as a leader for my team, the habit I want us to focus on, I don't have a car to test drive, but I did have a place someone could visit, coffees, conversations, event attendance. There's something about focusing on those that helps the supporter to be more likely to give, and me with my morale, persistence, creativity. To put it to you that if I change this from car salesperson, and test drives to fundraiser, the answers are all the same of the things you were saying. It builds trust, it deepens relationships. I understand them more. Um, so why do I say this? Because the ultimate distinction of ultra select successful relationship builders is they've clocked. My first job, book more test drives. That means what of the events that I've currently got, how can I celebrate inviting people to them, not because I want to just get their money or they're going to do an auction at it, but actually it's a chance for me to just understand them a bit more, and even in that event, book another test drive. It means celebrating the number of pre-COVID, I'm not sure I'd have said this, but we all know the power of the screen now, of Teams, of Zoom, like celebrating when I help someone get a 15 minutes Zoom with me, celebrating coffees and conversations. Um, the Another way to think of it is what could I do today to deepen relationships, like to get a conversation, have a chat, have a Teams chat, attend an event where somebody else is at, with, again, the 80-20 rule, not everyone, but the sorts of people who are slightly more valuable to me. In some instances, that is literally what can I do today to look at that board member's name, send them a WhatsApp, and say, I've had some thoughts about some things I'd love to do in the next 6 months that I'd love to run past you. When's a good time for us to have a 20-minute chat? Like on the one hand, it could be stuff like this. My favorite example comes from episode 88 and 89 with Cleo Grisani. Cleo was the head of partnerships and philanthropy at Shelterbox. This episode she was so generous with how she grew income. She'd always wanted to raise over £1 million from partnerships and philanthropy. She went on our major gift mastery course and grew income from £300,000 to £1 million within 2 years, and just flew from then. And she said, I made a bold choice as the leader of the team. I scrapped individual fundraising targets. I scrapped individual income targets, had team target, scrap the individuals ones, and the two KPIs I put in place, the two KPIs were number one, how many virtual coffees, conversations, chats, or normal coffees, events, test drives, how many of them can we get? And two, how many wow moments can we create? Now, wow moments comes from this book, The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. The Power of Moments. It talks about little things we can do to just deepen relationships with donors. Sometimes they're big things, sometimes they're little things, but it's a fascinating book. Um, Meaningful conversation, such a good KPI. I love that, Rob. Thank you. What we want to make sure is when someone comes into contact with you, they feel differently to others. The story that Cleo shares, one of them on the podcast, is so far so sensible, right? Ben, are you just saying get more meetings? I kind of am. But what I'm also saying is celebrate when the opportunity for a test drive occurs. So what Cleo says is when companies get in touch, for instance, and ask for volunteering opportunities, where they would normally go, "Oh God, I haven't got an opportunity for you to paint a fence." Um, See it as a test drive creator, and rather than I coach people in my spare time. Well, it's not my spare time; it's my job. I coach people, and occasionally, someone on a coaching call, they said to me, "Ben, how should I reply to this email from this local company who I do want to build a partnership with? They are worth it. They fit really well with us. But they've said, can we do a volunteering day in 6 weeks' time? Is there something you can do?" She's like, "We don't do that. It'll really annoy my colleagues." Um, she said, "What should I email to them?" And I said, "Well, I have a piece of paper normally on my desk that says, can you turn that into a test drive? I'm so pleased you want to do a volunteering day. Do you have 20 minutes for us to have a chat about why and what most interests you?" Boom, she gets a test drive. If I were in Cleo's team, I would immediately celebrate my test drive-ometer. Ding! I'm getting a test drive. And everything you've said in the chat about why test drives are helpful, what you know and what I know is in a calm 20-minute chat on Teams or on Zoom or maybe even a coffee, I can ask the question, why did you want to do a volunteering day in 6 weeks' time? What are you aiming to do? Oh, we just really want a reason to bring our staff together and to engage them. As someone starts talking to me about that, my brain can fizz with two or three other things they could do that aren't volunteering in that way to help bring staff together and engage them. And I am far more persuasive, more at my best when I'm in a chat than on email. But it's a test drive. My favourite thing that Cleo also did was the anniversary calls. So what they do is they look for in their donor file the anniversary of when someone first started giving to their charity. Could be a small amount, could be a big amount. Clearly, if I'm short on time, I'd focus on the people in the top 20%, not the others. But could be anyone to just get the habit in there. Um, Anniversary of when someone gave. So what are we at the moment? It's the 15th of September. Did someone start giving this week in September or in September last year, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago? Was it the first time that someone gave, first time someone attended an event? I appreciate we don't all have access to this sort of data all the time. But if I have got anything that helps me think this is the first time they gave, what does she do? Any week, any month, someone knows, I'll pull these names together. If I've got a phone number, I'll call them and I'll just thank them. And there's a wonderful story of, and I actually sat next to him on one of the training days, a fundraiser who called a particular donor he'd been giving now for 11 years. And he calculated the cumulative amount of 11 years worth of giving. And on the call said, you might not realize it, but this week is your 11-year anniversary for giving. Like, you might have even been giving sooner, but this is when our records started. 11 years. And again, you might have even given more, but from our records, this is how much you've given. Like, uh, just so you know, the last crisis that we helped in, that amount of money would have helped us to do these things. He had this 40-minute chat with this donor who couldn't believe the impact he'd been giving. He talked about why he'd been given. They had this lovely chat. And afterwards, as you can imagine, the fundraiser felt great. So did the donor. 24 hours later, though, there was a notification from the database team in the database, like online. the donor had cancelled his direct debit. So the poor fundraiser said, "What's happened?" Cleo talks about this on the podcast. He said, "Oh my God, is my emotional intelligence radar so off? I thought I'd had a great chat." He said, "Cleo, what should I do?" She said, "I think you should call the donor." So he called him, and the donor said, "Oh yeah, I did cancel it, but did you not get my notification? I've doubled the amount I'm giving." Like, based on your chat. Anyway, why am I saying this? Because at any point, Cleo's team asked themselves the question, what can I do to just have a conversation with a donor and deepen it? Again, not with everyone, with anyone. Um, Guessing you don't tell them how much they've given in a lifetime, they might hear the number and think that's enough of their money. Even I've had it back five before. It's a good question, Alex. There's a chapter in the book that talks about how humans over rationalize thanking. We're really weird. I bet that if they surveyed British people too, I bet we over rationalize it even more. Like, uh, and we think of all the reasons why thanking might be uncomfortable or might get the other response. And then they show the data, and Craig talks about this a lot as well. Craig Linton, who's on the 80/20, um, overwhelmingly, it deepens a relate. Like thanking is the numbers do not lie. Calling to thank someone has a disproportionate effect. I will cover this if I've got time. How are we doing for time? We're all right in a minute. But let's look at some ideas to deepen relationships. First things first. Um, Number one, number two. Oh, number one was focus. Make sure you're focusing on 80/20. Like, don't do this with it. Clearly, if you have the energy and time, do this with everyone you possibly could. Or if you want to build it as a habit, just start anywhere. But Craig would say, and we would say, it's not equal. Number one, focus on the donors that you believe and you know and you sense it could be worth more, whether that's current donors or prospects. Some of them are worth disproportionately more. Number two, think through of all the people that you know, all the people that are on your board, all the people that are currently giving, all the people who've worked for a company that might have done something with you, people who've turned up at an event, people who've supported you in the past. Out of all of them, they're not all equal. Early on in my career, I used to come in on a Monday and I'd be met with an email either from my CEO or my chairperson or a well-networked volunteer, someone who'd attended an event. And in that email, they'd say to me, "Ben, I was playing golf this weekend and I bumped into this person who I think might want to help the charity." And they'd connect me up. And early on, I'd be celebrating because this is exactly what I needed. And then after my eighth coffee with people who were, were quite influential, kind of wealthy, but not the donors I was after. Like people who, honestly, what I got was they wanted to work with the charity because they got more rather than we did. Like after my eighth coffee with these sorts of people, I was like, oh gosh, I'm really struggling. My allies and ambassadors aren't helping me that much. When we've hunted out bright spots, they've got into the habit of noticing out of all of my board members, all of the people that I could talk to, who are the ones that I can proactively, regularly have a chat with, let them know the sort of person, the sort of trusts I'm looking for, the sort of donors that we know care about our work, or I could be chatting to, like, and just ask them, you seem to care about our work. Can you think of anyone else that I could, like, I am after advice. We want to try and grow our networks in Bristol. We want to try and grow our community group or our corporate networking group, or I'm after a bit of advice in this sector, not that one. Do you know anyone that I could have a chat to, test drive, not gift, a chat to just seek some advice that might be able to help? Or if you've got an event coming up, do you know anyone that could attend that? Anyway, is there anyone that you can think of? So number one would be have a think through the type of donors, type of people who you know you'd love to deepen a relationship with. Number two would be, let's just try and do it like number one, create a dream list, focus on your top 20. Then number two, can you think of at least three people who care about your cause and are well connected in the local community? Like that maybe they sit on your board of trustees, maybe they've given you to you in the past, maybe they're on a committee group, maybe they've attended an event, maybe they work or own or founded the company that cares about you, maybe someone in their family has worked with your charity, maybe they got help from your charity. Like, is there someone who you think is aware of your cause, cares about your cause, and might be well connected in the community? They're the sort of person who maybe they're they're always they're a local councillor. They know the local councillor. They're always at local events. When they do help you to sell event tables, they sell disproportionately more than the others. Like maybe they're a governor of a local school. Maybe they're a non-executive director of more than one company. Maybe they're a trustee of a charity. Like some people do manage to just seem to have disproportionately high amounts of time. Can you think of that sort of person? Can you picture them? And if you can't, maybe it's your CEO. Maybe it isn't. Maybe your CEO can think of that person. Maybe your chair can. Maybe your treasurer can. Um, Step three, once you've thought of that person, can you ask for a chance to talk about some ideas, your strategies, the things that, like, actually, we know it's ever harder to get income, ever harder to get people engaged in our work. I am intrigued. I've got some ideas, some strategies I'd like to talk through with you. Is there a good time that I can catch up and chat them through with you? You've been so helpful to us in the past. Like, ask for a chance to talk about your ideas with them, get a test drive with them. Here's, by the way, when we do this on our corporate mastery course, sometimes we encourage people to create a dream 10 list. Who are the 10 companies? Some might be supporting you at the moment, often lots are not. 10 companies that a partnership with your charity would help your charity, and it could help them too. Maybe it's worth it. Like Ali came up with this 10. She created a logo sheet because your brain likes focus, they like visuals. She created a logo sheet, her dream 10. She then, can you help? She had it printed out. And when she met people who had given to her in a big way, £5,000 or more, she had a lovely chat with them. She thanked them. She talked about the impact of their giving. And then at the end of the meeting, she said, by the way, while I've got you, I wondered, could I just seek your advice? We've got these companies that I'd love to get some advice from. They were a hospice. And she was like, look, insulation is an important thing for us in our hospice. Like, and the homes of the people that we help from the hospice at home, sometimes they need advice. We want to talk to Stratham, the insulation firm. Do you know anyone that's connected to that? She said, the first couple of conversations, some people didn't know who they could be connected to, weren't aware. By the second and third, this happened. And that 10 went to look like this. Let me change my layout. There we go. Hopefully this now means you can see the bigger screen. Is that right? Cool. This happened. Avanti Gas. Underneath it, it says Penny's husband. She met Penny, her husband. Like Stratham. Warren's going to contact via work. You can't see it because we had to cut it off because it had a phone number underneath it. But underneath it, it says Jill, and in brackets, looks after her cats. One of the people who'd given to them in the past, who was very good at getting tables filled at local events. She was very well networked. When she had a cup of coffee with her to thank her, talk about the event, turns out she lives next door to one of the founding directors of Stratham and helps with their cats when they go on holiday. Like, she got, like, each one of these is 8 test drives, if that makes sense. 8 conversations that she couldn't have got before when it's harder to get those conversations. So, tactic number 1, think through people who might be well connected in the local community, people who've given to you in the past, people who are on your board, people who work for local companies, like people the CEO may know when they get invited to things. It's that sort of person. Like, who are they? And then just have a chat with them, see where it gets you. Crucially, you're not asking for a coffee or a conversation because you want to ask the other person for money or for a gift or for a partnership yet. You're having a coffee or a conversation. Crucially, you're asking for a chat, for some advice, to run something past them. Like, it's the test drive model. It's just a test drive, not the car. I'm going to keep going. I'm conscious of time. Tactic number 2 came from a wonderful conversation we had with someone called Michelle Benson, an absolute artist in helping to deepen high-value fundraising relationships. LinkedIn, some people use it, some people don't. What she taught me really early on is that most fundraisers are using LinkedIn wrong. LinkedIn has a really powerful algorithm. It's very smart. If I think through the people, I don't know, I've got quite a few connections. Even when I wasn't a trainer, a coach, when I was a fundraiser, most of my connections were with other fundraisers. If I looked at your connections right now, some of them might be with funders, trusts and others. I bet the vast majority of people you're linked in with are people who do a job just like you. Now, that's because LinkedIn makes that so. The power of LinkedIn is when circles are created and algorithms are created where everyone is in a similar sort of role. Because when it does that, it makes it easier to advertise and influence lots of people who are pretty similar, if that makes sense. It creates avatars. Now, that's powerful, but not if I want to deepen relationships with donors, not with fundraisers. So Michelle Benson's first thing is connect with your funders or prospective funders. And even if you don't connect with them, I like the follow function. Follow them because this algorithm is smart. And connect with them if you can, follow them if you can't. Eventually, it begins to notice the pattern and starts advertising to you and sending you more information, changes your pipeline. Here's things you might be interested in with connections who are closer related to your funders rather than your fundraisers. Does that make sense? It doesn't take a huge shift for that to happen. Listen to the podcast episode 150. This is one of our most listened to ones and most practical ones. I said knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. My favorite thing about this one is you listen to this. There's some ideas you can have. Here's 3 things that Michelle shared with me. Number 1, change who you're connecting with. Think through who is the donors, the trusts, the people, the networks, the companies that I do want to, like, if I could pick who are the circles I'd want to be connected with more, focus on those, follow them. Then number 2, she said, 95% of people are using LinkedIn wrong. There's nearly 200 million people on LinkedIn. So 190 million or whatever are using LinkedIn wrong. You will be in the top 5% of LinkedIn if you stop being passive and just letting your timeline do what it does and start liking. Just like and react to the comments. Now, focus. Don't like and react to all the comments of all your colleagues and peers. Like and react to the comments of your funders. You'll be in the top 5%. Comment on their posts, and it doesn't even need to be wildly innovative. That's an excellent point. We found similar things at Bristol Hospices charity. Like we've made a similar impact here. I'm so pleased you find that interesting. So do we. Like you can be in the top 3% if you comment more on posts. Do you want to be in the top 1%? Be in the top 1% by posting and reposting their content with something interesting said about it or your own content. I know this sounds so simple, but if you get into the habit of liking their content, commenting on their content, and reposting it, Michelle talks on the podcast. The moment you write a comment on a funder's page, on a funder's thing, it's not just seen by you and maybe some of your peers. It's suddenly seen by the 3,000 people that they are connected with who are just like them, who are more likely to be funders, if that makes sense. So I know you might know this stuff, but we have quite a few examples of people on our Major Gift Mastery course and of people who've got in touch with Michelle after our podcast to say, I changed my habits on LinkedIn to just do this. And one of my funders who I've been after for ages, they connected with me, which immediately meant we could send messages to each other. I didn't immediately ask them for a gift. We chatted for a bit. We set up a Zoom call. They've just given me £15,000. Like, I'm adamant that happened because I followed them, liked, commented, and off we went. I just wouldn't have been that brave before. So tactic 2, LinkedIn. Like, what can I do to just tweak what I do there? Tactic 3, the wealthy cab driver's secret. When I go to training, sometimes I have to get a cab because it's in an obscure location. I can tell you the cab drivers who raise more money than their peers because of a question that they ask me. There is a question that those cab drivers ask after they've dropped me off. If you could guess, what do you think is the question that the wealthy cab driver asks? They drop me off at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's a question they ask me that lets me know they are going to earn more money than the others. I love it, Anna. When are you coming back? Put in other terms, can I book your return journey? Like the cab driver who earns more, the moment that they've got me, says, should we book a return journey? When are you coming back to the station? Why do I say this? Because often when I'm delivering a team day and we ask the question of what would be most helpful for you, people say, do you know, after I have that first meeting, initially they might not have thought that we were a good match for them, but by the end of the meeting, they're really warm. You get a sense of progress. They want to do more, and we all agree we should meet again. I've got to talk to someone, they've got to talk to someone that they're interested in our event. And then I tell you what, Ben, it's so hard to get that second meeting. I tell you, it's just as hard to get the second meeting. I wish I'd learnt the wealthy cab driver's secret earlier on. That secret, when you get to the end of the meeting and it seems like things are going in the right direction, I I am interested. Occasionally, it's the right thing to just ask there and then, isn't it? You feel it, you get a sense. Sounds like you are interested in our work. Like, would you like to meet again? Would you like to give? Is it an area you're interested in? Often, though, you need a second meeting. There's some other things they need to talk about. They want to visit you. They need to talk to someone else. Um, at that point, the wealthy cab driver's secret says, "It sounds like you are interested. Is that right? You are great. I know I need to go away and check timings on the new build or other things we're doing, or get an answer to that question. You said you needed to talk to your partner too, or the other board members, or the trustee. I'm intrigued. When would be a good time for us to catch up again? Like, I know I'm away now until October. If we were penciling it in, which week would be good for you? Like, uh, my results changed dramatically when I applied the wealthy cab driver's philosophy to my work, if that makes sense. Like, what is it that I could do to just do that a bit more? Sunita, who was on our mastery, I did a coaching day for her and her team, and she she was excited about the fact that she used to get about 3 or 4 meetings a month, and about 4 months later, after learning this tactic, she said, "Ben, I've got 18 coffees this month, 18 test drives." And she said, genuinely, like there were some bold, creative things I did, but honestly, the main bulk of these test drives have come from just the wealthy cab driver secret. And I asked her the question, Sunita, how did it feel when that in that first meeting when you said to the person, "Would you like to meet again? Should we put the date in the diary?" Like, I bet you were buzzing afterwards. And she said to me, "Do you know what, Ben? I actually felt really uncomfortable." Like, because I was hoping she would say I'm buzzing because there's an important learning philosophy on celebrating the little things. She's like, "No, I felt really uncomfortable. I felt like I was being a bit pushy," she said. And I was like, "Oh gosh, my learning point has just evaporated." Only for Sunita's boss, Kat, to say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Sunita, I was in the room with you. Like, you did not come across as pushy." Like, honestly, everyone was really pleasantly surprised at how assertive you were. Like, it made our lives easier. We knew we had the meeting booked in. That was a thing that, without a doubt, donors don't ignore us on purpose. They just have lives. Like, and they feel guilty, just as guilty as we do about not doing important things. She's like, honestly, you came across calmly. What Sunita was experiencing was the uncomfortableness that comes when you learn a new skill. Like, I am someone who's just learning to go to the gym for the first time in my life. Like, everything feels uncomfortable. All of it. When you learn a new bit, it gradually gets easier. Anyway, the wealthy cab driver's secret. How long have I got? Oh, I'm not going to do this one justice in 3 minutes, but I have to say the power habit of all of these. Like, number one is how flexible can I be in booking test drives? But the single most powerful habit, and maybe you're on our Breakfast Club, you've heard me say this before. And if you haven't, I think it's podcast episode 177 where I talk about this. The biggest differentiator is people who seem to get far more test drives than anyone else, far more gifts, have a different relationship with the phone. The ninth most popular thing for you to do on the phone is to call someone. Like, most of the time when we see this, we do not call people. And it's because most of the time that people call us, it's not an enjoyable experience. I think nearly all the time the phone represents something that we don't like. And yet, when people have been managed to overcome that, very, like, I understand and appreciate why most people are not confident on the phone, but if they can overcome it like Paul did, you see a shift. 20 meetings in 1 month instead of 4. Paul, why? If you listen to the episode 33, I managed to overcome the way I pick up the phone. Like, he normalized the way he uses the phone. So did Andy. 349% increase in giving from trusts. How? Normalized helping people pick up the phone. When people gave to his charity, their number one rule, call them to say thank you. That's the number one rule. Call them as soon after they've given as possible to say thank you if you've got a phone number. I appreciate you don't always have that. Charlie got more partnerships because she used the phone. So did Pippa. So did Linda. So did Louisa. So did Neela. So did Chris. Like, but I appreciate you might not feel like that at the moment. Like for me, it's one of those habits that I might not feel like the phone is the right thing for me. Just like I used to think meditation wasn't my thing. I shouldn't be meditating. It's not for me. It's for other people. Or when I talk about meditation in this way, I now meditate. It makes my life easier. I'm not saying you need to meditate, but what I am saying is there are things that you might do now that initially your perspective was it wasn't for me. Now you can't get out of that habit. It's just something you do. Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, Ben, that's my overnight oats." Overnight oats. I used to hate overnight oats. It wasn't for me. Now I do it every day. Someone else said going for a run in the morning. Someone else said a swim in the morning, early rising, whatever it is. Um, you are not alone if you don't use the phone. Most people don't. But I just want to be really clear here. There is a massive difference if you can encourage yourself to do it. Um, I remember talking to Martha. She said, when someone calls me, I was on a training day with her. She was in corporate partnership. She said, when someone calls me, do you know, even if it's a close friend, three things go through my mind. Number one, why haven't they just sent me a message or a voice note? Number two, is it just a bum dial, like a pocket dial? Have they just called me by accident? And number three, who's dialed? Sorry, not who's dialed, who's died? Like, is there an emergency? That's the thing she said go through her mind when someone calls her. Um, she even said, do you know, Ben, if one of my donors calls me, genuinely, I know like she was really honest in a room of her peers. I do think, how long do I have to wait until it goes to voicemail? Like, oh, I don't want to answer it because she was so anxious about picking up the phone. The truth is, by the way, recent studies all across the world, these studies have been done. 80% of people aged under 40 have anxiety before picking up the phone to anyone, let alone a donor. So 8 out of 10 people feel that way. I can understand why, because often the people who speak to me don't have my best interests at heart, don't care about me. They're trying to sell to me. Like they're not, it's not a good call. Whereas what we know is the results of a good call, of a time when someone's called you who cares about you, are totally different. On the day, Martha talked about a particular donor who she wished she could get a test drive with. It was someone who worked for a company who every year asked them for posters for Bowel Cancer Awareness Month. And the company has a charity of the year, like a partnership thing they do. And Martha always replies saying, can I chat to you about your charity of the year? I'm so like, I'll send you the posters. Can I chat to you about getting a charity of the year? She emails her. And this woman at the company never replies to that email. And Martha was like, I really want to test drive with her because she always asks about posters. And I said to her, Martha, if you were in a test drive with her, what would you ask? What would you want to know in that test drive? Like, what would you find useful about understanding and appreciating her world? And she was like, do you know what, Ben? It's not even about the charity of the year. I just want to know why every year do they keep asking us for posters? Do the posters work? What's going on? So I asked her, can you show me the latest email you've got from her? And she found the email. We scrolled to the bottom of the email, and maybe you can guess where I'm going. Underneath her name was a phone number. Not every email signature has it, but underneath her name was a phone number. I said, Martha, what do you think you could do? And she knew where I was going. She was like, oh, I'm going to write down to give her a call. 6 weeks later, on day two of our course, I asked the question, as I ask on every day two, has anyone tried something, done something differently, noticed something in the time since day one to day two? Do they now feel differently about something? And unprompted, Martha just went, I love the phone! Arms in the air, screamed it. And it turned out, you can tell what she did. She called that woman. They had a really quick chat. Turns out the reason that they keep asking for posters is because one of her colleagues died of bowel cancer, and they want others to know the symptoms. And they booked in a time to have a chat later in the week, a 45-minute chat about their staff, about their colleagues, about making sure they've got support if someone dies of bowel cancer. It wasn't about fundraising. And at the end of it, Martha asked, at the end of it, her name was Claire. Claire said, I'd love to nominate bowel cancer for our Charity of the Year partnership. Like, anyway, Martha, I caught up with her about 6 months ago, and she said, like, now feels like a superpower. She said it used to feel like an old-fashioned tool, but it now feels like a superpower to me. She said it was annual report time. Everyone had 10 donors that they had to contact to see if they wanted to still be listed in the annual report. We had 3 days to do it. She said, I got mine done in 2 hours. In 2 hours, all 10 donors we got an answer from. My colleagues were still waiting a week later. You can guess how Martha got hers done in 2 hours. You can guess what her colleagues did to check on those donors. Like, anyway, if you are interested, here are easy reasons to pick up the phone. Number one, call someone to say thank you. Try a thankathon. Try just a week to say thank you. A bit like Cleo's team. This is what Max found when he was at Sheffield Hospital. This is the reply that somebody sent after they called someone to say thank you. Thank you so much for your phone call today. It made me cry hearing someone else mentioning my daughter's name again. Both my daughter and her sister received intensive care. Her sister is now 11 and loving secondary school. It was lovely to know we'd raised £7,000 over the years to say thank you and hopefully help other babies, as I didn't realise it was that much. So the time you took to call was really appreciated, especially after a tough week at work. I love that. That's a different phone call, right? It's not a call like the ones I normally get. It's one to say thank you, to deepen a relationship. Um, I have another example of that, but for now we're going to move on. Call to help your colleagues. Make more calls internally to others.
I
I'm
think
not going to normalize replying to emails. Pam got an email from a company saying, "Can you give us your bank details? You're one of 10 charities that's going to benefit from £50,000. Would you could you just send us your bank details?" What did Pam do? She didn't just email, she picked up the phone, and this is what happened.
think I must have been one of the only charities that actually called because they just sent like a generic, "Hi, we really want to donate to you this year. Send us your bank details." So I rang and said, "Oh, that's lovely. Thanks so much. I've never heard of you before. I'm based in Chester, blah, blah, blah." So we had a good chat. And then she emailed me and said, £50,000 going to be landing in your bank account tomorrow. Thank you so much. And I was just like, okay.
So to be clear, £50,000 when the pot had been £60,000 to be split amongst 10, and none of the others called. She was the only one that called.
And I was the kid.
Oh, thanks, Pam. So here's my thing. Don't don't just think the phone is the only tool. I was with a charity recently. We did this game. Someone recently called someone. They didn't get through. They started WhatsApping with them. It was WhatsApp that's been the thing that's got her a coffee with someone. Like, if you've got an event that you've got people invited to, by all means email them the invitation, and then like Cleo did, call as many people as possible to see if they'll come. She went from 16 people attending, aiming for 40, got 64. I'm going to pause. Here's some ideas. A, make calls to thank people, make calls to your colleagues, make calls to reply to an email. Be flexible, use the phone in lots of other ways, and give, don't take. I don't have time to go through these, but I am just going to pause. Could be anything we've said. Like, have a think through things you could do today. And if you are interested, I have created a little handbook with Rob that might, if you scan this, there's 6 different ideas to help you deepen relationships and chat to donors. I am going to pause now, though, and maybe open the chat box or something. If anyone has any questions, thoughts, maybe there's a bit of this where it might not work with you, or you're worried, or like, I am intrigued. Anyone with any thoughts, reflections, questions, knowing we've got 60 seconds. Sorry.
Amazing, Ben. Thank you so much. That was amazing. You've covered so much in such a short period of time, and I am going to leave this session today and make a phone call that I had on my to-do list for the last 3 weeks, and I need to do it, and I'll make it this afternoon. So just before we finish off, is there anybody that would like to ask Ben any questions?
I can see 2 questions in the chat. One of them about
Great.
small donor, like if I don't have a phone number and connecting with older donors, Rachel Catola on podcast episode 100. Rachel Catola. Do you know the main thing she does is she writes more handwritten thank you cards and sends them off to donors, especially when she's, like I said early on, especially when she's heard a story or a quote or a moment that helps her know, gosh, I'm pleased my charity was here today. She writes that one note in a little thank you card, sends it off to a donor, and then often writes, I would love to get some time to just understand what made you choose to support us in the first place, or since you gave, some things have changed. I'd love to see if you've got 20 minutes for a chat. Here's when I'm free. Like, she just drips these thank you cards to people, and she's seen over the course that you'll listen on the podcast, like she's seen huge growth. Some of it has been direct, people have given immediately, others have just done that. Another person, the thing he did was sent handwritten cards. I mean, he sent a lot of them. He sent like 160 to lapsed donors, 160 cards to lapsed donors to again, thanking them, saying he'd love to be in touch to understand why they chose to give in the first place. And with the top 20, he sent tea bags with it. Let's catch up over a cup of tea. That's all he wrote. Handwritten card, tea bag, let's catch up over a cup of tea. 14 of the 20 of the top 20 replied so they could get a cup of coffee with them. My other thing is your ally or ambassador. Like, they are more connected than you think, would be my advice. If you can get a test drive or a chat or a coffee with them, you'll notice there is someone that they might know. I will pause. Yeah, that would be one thing. There's an excellent episode. The only other thing is, out of all of your donors, Rob, you mentioned you got a small pool with no phone numbers. Play the 80-20 rule. Even if it's tiny, even if it's 10, 2 or 3 of them are just worth it more. Like, if there were 2 or 3 of them who you could you would wake up the next day and go, yes, because you've got a coffee or a conversation in with them. Who would those 2 or 3 be? And then, like, ask yourself, why is it important if I get a coffee or a conversation in with them? How will I feel if I get that coffee or conversation? Like, I think you'll feel pretty good. Remind yourself of how high the stakes are, and then calmly, maybe with a colleague, say, what is everything I could possibly try? One thing is an email. Another thing is chatting to our CEO to see if there's an event that we can invite them to. Another thing is finding an ally or ambassador to see if they know this person. Another thing is thinking creatively. Is that person wealthy or well connected because they work in a particular industry? What's the thing I could send them that chimes with that? Like, that's a bold move. Like, if you listen to the podcast, there's some stuff we've done on bold moves to help you. Like, but often it's not one thing. It's, if I believe that for these 3, 4, 5, 6 people, there's a reason they gave. I should deepen this relationship. It's not just about the money. Meeting me will make their life better and my life better. If I believe that to be true, what's the thing I can try? What's the other thing I can try? What's the other thing I can try? What's the other thing I can try? Like, I think there's loads of things. Success isn't linear, would be my advice. I'm going to pause. I've gone well over on time. Sorry, Sophie and Emma and Alex.
And thank you so much. A brilliant session. As you can see in the chat, loads of thanks coming through. Really appreciate you coming on today and chatting to everyone. There's so many takeaways. If everybody could please take just a minute to fill in the feedback form, that would be much appreciated. And I will, of course, pass on any nice comments to Ben afterwards. And also you can feedback about other future sessions that you would like to see. So thank you ever so much, Ben. And thanks everyone for joining us. See you all soon.